Chapter 8, titled Attaining the Supreme, starting at text 11. Yadakasham Veda Vidu Vandati Dishyanti Yad Yatyayo Vita Raja Yadichatanto Brahmacharyam Charanti Tate Padam Sangarena Pavakshi. Translation. Persons learned in the Vedas who uttered Omkara and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Text 12. Savadharani samyam ya manohire nirudayascha mudayani harayat mana pranam ashito yoga dharanam. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Text 13. Omite kasharam brahma vayarharamam anushamaran ya prayate tayajan deham jayati paramam gatim. Translation. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllabum Om, this supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Text 14. Ananya Cheta Satatam Yomam Simarati Nityasha Tashyaham Sulabhaha Parta Nitya Yuktasya Yoginaha. Translation. One who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Text 15. Manu Pitya Punarjama Ukalalayam Ashasvatam Napnunavati Mahatmana Shamsitam Paramam Gataha. Translation. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Text 16. Brahma Bhuyavatya Bhuvanal Loka Punaravatino Arjuna Mamupitya Tu Kanteya Punarjamana Viyate. Translation. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest are all the places of misery wherein repeated birth and death takes place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Text 17. Sahasya Yuga Paryantam Aharya Brahmano Vidhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasratam Dehoratra Vito Jana. Translation. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Text 18. Avyatad Vyataya Sarva Prabhavanti Ahag Agame Ratri Agame Pralayante Tatraved Yakta Sham Yanke. Translation. When Brahma's day is manifest, the multitude of living entities comes into being, and the arrival of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. Text 19. Bhuta gramasa eva yam bhutva palyate retre agame vaishya parta prabhavate ahagame. Translation. Again and again the day comes, and this host of beings is active, and again the night falls, O Partha, and they are hopelessly dissolved. Text 20. Paras tasmatu bhayovinayo vayakto vyaktat sanatana yatsa sarvesha bhutaishu nashyatsu na vinashyati. Translation. Yet there is another nature, which is eternal and transcendental to this manifest and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all the world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Text 21. Avyakto krishara iti yuktas tamahu paramam gatim yam prayana nivatante tadama paramam mama. Translation. That supreme abode is called unmanifested and infallible, and it is the supreme destination. When one goes there, he never comes back. That is my supreme abode. Text 22, final text. Purusha sa paraparta bhaktya lapyastha anayaya yashyanta shitani bhutani yena sarvam idam tatam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in this abode, he is all-pervading, and everything is situated within him. Returning to text 11. Text 11, the translation. Persons learned in the Vedas who utter a makara and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Purport. Lord Krishna explains that Brahman, although one without a second, has different manifestations and features. For the impersonalist, the syllable is identical with Brahman. Krishna here explains that impersonal Brahman in which the renounced order of sages enter. In the Vedic system of knowledge, students from the very beginning are taught to vibrate and learn of the ultimate impersonal Brahman by living by the spiritual master in complete celibacy. In this way, they realize two of the Brahman features. This practice is very essential for the student's advancement in spiritual life. But the moment such brahmachari, unmarried celibate life, is not at all possible. The social construction of the world has changed so much that there is no possibility of one practicing celibacy from the beginning of the student life. Throughout the world, there are many institutions of the different departments of knowledge, but there is no recognized institution where students can be educated in the brahmachari principles. Unless one practices celibacy, advancement in spiritual life is very difficult. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has announced, according to the spiritual injunctions for this age of Kali, that no process of realizing the Supreme is possible except for the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this age of Kali, we have the system that's been presented to us through Lord Chaitanya, the chanting of the holy names. This is the recommended system of the age of Kali. I mean, we had the previous ages we've had. There's ages that we had thousands of years to get our meditation right, to get our yoga right, to get our concentration right. But in the age of Kali now, where lifespan has been shortened, intelligence has been shortened. You have the demons rising to the top and the good people being pushed down below. And our lifespans are so short now compared to what they were in the past. Going from thousands of years down to, 120 years if you really live to the ripe old age. And that comes with its difficulties as well. So the chanting of the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the easiest and best path in this world today, in this age today. You know, one can try to go out into the wilderness and try to meditate upon the Supreme, but let's face it, most of us can't even keep our concentration on one thing for more than a couple minutes. It's our attention spans are so short now. You know, that's where the chanting our daily rounds comes in. It's a not only is it purifying, but it's a practice of focus. We're learning to focus our awareness on the holy names. You know, it's many have difficulties at the very beginning because their mind's all over the place. You know, chanting of the holy names, it's keeping your focus on the sound and the vibration. You know, whenever another thought arises, oh, you know, thinking about a past song somewhere, that's when you got to stop yourself, recognize, oh, my mind's wandering, and bring yourself back to the awareness of the sound of the mantra. You have to do this over and over and over again, and even years into it, you still find your mind wandering. You know, and you still have to stop yourself and bring yourself back to the awareness of the mantra. Through this creates tremendous focus as you're training your mind. It's like an exercise of, hey, this is where I want my awareness to be. And the whole idea is this is preparing you for death, believe it or not. This is preparing you for the moment that you die. Because at the moment of death, if our mind's on Krishna, we go straight back to him. If it's on something else, something material, well, we'll be coming right back to this world, or possibly even worse. You know, I can only imagine those who, you know, have spent their entire lives indulged in horror movies. What could they possibly have going through their mind at the last minute of death? Gosh, who knows where they could end up? So much so, this is when you hear about like study the science of quantum physics. A lot of this seems like, you know, the science of quantum physics, because it's where our mind takes us. At, you know, the time of death is that's the doorway. You know, remembering Krishna. This is why devotional life is so important. You know, from the time we get up in the morning, you know, to the time we go to bed at night, we're trying to be always engaged, you know, in Krishna service. Always have our mind on, hey, I'm serving Krishna. I'm doing this for Krishna. It's not that I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing this for Krishna. So we are the servant of the servants of the servant of the servant. That's who we are. You have to remain in that humble aspect. This is a path of bhakti yoga. Helps us to get back to Krishna Loka. And to do that, we need the help of the spiritual master. Spiritual master is essential in this. Can one get to Krishna Loka with a spiritual master? Maybe, possibly, but it's, you know, it's like winning the lottery. It's like, you know, getting an honorary degree from Harvard but never having to get attended there. You know, it's technically it is possible, but it's very uncertain and very, you know, very slim chance of attaining it by yourself. That's where the mercy of the guru comes in. And we have this beautiful param system where you're offering everything to your guru, and your guru is offering everything of his to his guru, and his guru is offering everything to his guru. And this goes all the way back to Krishna. So this is like accelerated offerings. You know, you're no longer just offering it on your own. You have an entire divine system, param system, that's taking your one offering and it's going from guru to guru to guru to guru to guru all the way back to Krishna, lifting you up all the way to Krishna. That's the beauty of the system. It's all there designed to help us take us straight back to him. Any questions on that so far? We'll move on to text 12. Translation. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air on the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. To practice yoga, as suggested here, one first has to close the door of all sense enjoyment. This practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. Sense organs for acquiring knowledge, such as the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch, should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in self-gratification. In this way, the mind focuses on the supersoul in the heart, and the life force is raised to the top of the head. In the 6th chapter, this process is described in detail. But as mentioned before, this practice is not practical in this age. The best process is Krishna consciousness. If one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in undisturbed transcendental trance or samadhi. And this is what we're all striving for. This is what we're all trying to get to, through our daily practice, through our daily sadhana. Getting to that stage to where we're in constant trance of just having Krishna on the mind all the time, not being distracted by mundane other thoughts outside of Krishna consciousness. We get a lot of new people that come here that, try to go in through the program and they're expecting, rapid results, immediate results right away. It's like, well, you got to take your time. Unless you have a particular grace given by Krishna, these things take time. This takes time to develop this, samadhi, this trance, to where you're always engaged in Krishna, your mind's always engaged, and you're full of bliss. That's more of the pure devotional stage. Many of us are just still neophytes, like myself. We're just trying to get there. We're just begging and hoping to taste the nectar one day. But even until then, this is still a wonderful path to take. And in this age, these yoga meditations they're very hard to do. When it's talking about the life breath up to the top of the head, it sounds like it's talking about Kundalini. You have a lot of Westerners here. They say, "Oh yeah, I practice Kundalini." I'm just like, "No, you don't. No, you don't." Yeah, you have a lot of self-proclaimed gurus, especially self-proclaimed gurus online, claiming this yoga, that yoga, how to do this, how to do that. But we have to be very, very careful about who we take instruction from. We take instruction from the right person, from a pure devotee. They take us up to Krishna Loka. If we're taking instruction from someone fallen, someone that doesn't know what they're talking about, that's just all puffed up and trying to think, trying to make people believe they're a guru, they could take us straight down to the depths of hell. It's very the power of I talk about the power of association a lot, I know, but it's very powerful. Just like an iron rod, you put it into fire, and after a while, the iron rod becomes hot, takes on the qualities of fire. You can take the iron rod, touch it to paper, paper catches on fire. Touch it to wood, the wood catches on fire. So it takes on the qualities. It's the same thing in our association in daily life. What we associate with has tremendous effects on us. It seems really subtle, but it's a huge effect. It's like, person recovering from alcoholism, the first thing they tell them to do, stay away from your alcoholic friends. Stay away from the bars. You can't just go walk in the bar and expect not to drink. The same thing with drug addicts. You stay away from the people who are doing drugs. Stay away from the places that you're associated with doing drugs at. You have to cut yourself off from it. Same way with material world. In the temple life, it's we're not always cut off because a lot of times we're going out right into the thick of it. Sankirtan, Harinam, doing book distribution, preaching, the outside world. So we have to have a strong sadhana here in the temple. This place is our sanctuary. Have a strong sadhana, do our daily rounds, taking our instructions from our spiritual master. These things are all important because this association helps gets us to Krishna Loka, helps gets us there. We'll move on to text 13. Translation. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred symbol Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Report. It is clearly stated here that Om, Brahman, and Lord Krishna are not different. The personal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. It is clearly recommended in this age that if one quits his body at the end of his life chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, he will reach the spiritual planets. Similarly, those who are devotees of Krishna enter the Krishna planet of Goloka, Vrindavan, whereas the impersonalists remain in the Brahmayoti. The personalists enter many innumerable planets in the spiritual sky known as Vaikunthas. So here is again, as I was mentioning earlier, this is training us for death. This is training us for the time that we're quitting our body. To remember, to always be engaged. If we're always engaged, if we always have the Maha Mantra going through our mind, when death finally takes us, that should be the last thing running through our minds, the Maha Mantra. Thinking of Krishna. If we achieve that, we go straight back to him. Straight back to him. We don't have to be reborn again. We don't have to come back here, live another life, take the risk of this material world. Even if we some reason that we haven't attained that this lifetime, we haven't got to that point. We have we'll be taking a human birth in a pious family, keep us on the path. So whatever, there's no dissolution in this. We're always advancing. Even if you fall later on in one of your future lives, you still have attained what you had practiced here, or practiced in the next life, or the next life. The pure devotee, it says it takes many lifetimes for to become a pure devotee. Pure devotees are very rare. If someone, that's where we're supposed to take our instruction from pure devotees and sannyasis. But it's like if you're going to go out and ask someone, are you a pure devotee? If they say yes, most likely they're not. You got to be very careful. Like I said, who you take instructions from. They're very rare. Move on to text 14. For one who remembers me without deviation, I'm easy to attain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. In this verse, the Bhakti Yoga, the unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Godhead, is described. The preceding verses mention 4 different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation from material entanglement have been described: Karma Yoga, Yaga Yoga, Hatha Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Without any mixture of these is mentioned. Bhakti Yoga, the devotees desire nothing but Krishna. The pure Bhakti devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Nishkama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. The pure devotee only wants to please the Supreme Lord, and so the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinching, devoted to him, he is easy to attain. Devotee can render service to any of the transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord, and he meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of the other yogas. Bhakti Yoga is very simple and pure to easy to perform. One can begin by simply chanting Hare Krishna. Krishna is very merciful to those engaged in his service, and he helps in various ways that devotee who is fully surrendered to him so he can understand him as he is. The Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual kingdom. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere at any time. Some say the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavan or some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. It was Sri Veta who told Lord Chaitanya, "Wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan." A pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon him. These are qualifications of pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is a system that is the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. Santa Bhakta, engaged in devotional service and neutrality. 2. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as a servant. 3. Shakya Bhakta, engaged as a friend. Vakshalya Bhakta, engaged as a parent. And 5. Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as conjugal lover of Supreme Lord. Any of these ways, a pure devotee is always constantly engaged in transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. Do not forget the Supreme Lord. And so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment, and similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessing of the Krishna conscious process of chanting Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna. The Bhakti Yoga is the supreme form of all the yoga systems. And actually, as I said before, it's the best method in the age of Kali. These other yoga systems, yeah, in the previous ages, you had, hundreds to thousands of years to get your yoga practice right, from, Yaga Yoga to the other yogas as you work through up to Bhakti Yoga. But here in this age, just go straight to Bhakti Yoga. That's all you need. It's Bhakti Yoga. You don't need to learn all these stretches or the breathing techniques. You don't need all that. Just need Bhakti Yoga. You just need devotional service. And Krishna has given us so many different ways to have a relationship with him. He wants a relationship with us. From being, from a friend to a parent to a child, to a lover. He's given us so many different ways to have a relationship with him. Even the demons have a relationship with him. Look at Kamsa. Kamsa hated him so much, couldn't keep him out of his mind. But Kamsa ended up getting liberated, getting killed by Krishna himself. Yes, Prabhu. Oh, Hare Krishna. That's why it's really important to have, develop this relationship, especially with the deities, especially with Gaurnitai. You're having problems, go to Gaurnitai, pray to Gaurnitai. Gaurnitai wants that relationship with you. It's very important to establish that. He's given us all these ways to serve him, to have that relationship with him. It's ridiculous not to take up on that opportunity. Are there any questions on this so far? Yes, Prabhu. Oh, you got a microphone? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I liked it in the purport where it was speaking about the atmosphere of Vrindavan is created by one's devotional service. Recently, I was reading in the introduction to Canto 10, Chapter 1, that the word Mathura means one who is engaged properly in his transcendental position. That's the definition of that. So Srila Sanatana Goswami makes a nice nice comment in one of his books about that, and it stood out to me here.
Thank you, Prabhu. Move on to text 15. Text 15, after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they obtain the highest perfection. Purport. Since this temporary material world is full of the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death, naturally one who achieves the highest perfection attains the supreme planet, Krishna Loka, Goloka, Vrindavan, does not wish to return. The supreme planet is described in Vedic literature as beyond a material vision and is considered the highest goal. Mahatmas, great souls, receive the transcendental message from the realized devotees and thus gradually develop devotional service in Krishna consciousness and become so absorbed in transcendental service they no longer desire elevation to any of the material planets, nor do they even want to be transferred to any spiritual planet. They only want Krishna's association and nothing else. Such great souls in Krishna consciousness attain the highest perfection in life. In other words, they are the supreme souls. So here again, it's telling us path back to Krishna. It's rid ourselves of all other material desires. We're only have our only desire is Krishna, serving Krishna. At the time of death, if you're thinking, oh man, you hear it in so many movies. It's like, oh, wait, just give me one last cigarette. And then they die. That was the last thing running through my mind. So, poop, they're back here. They're reborn here, in a situation where they can enjoy smoking again. Alcoholics, same thing. They're reborn here. Situation they can enjoy alcohol again. It's any sort of desire, lingering desire, Krishna sends you right back into this world. You gotta have him 100% in your consciousness, and only him that you're desiring. All these other material desires, that's the stage that we're all working for. Many of us are just neophyte devotees. We're trying to get to that stage of where we don't want anything else but Krishna. That takes time and practice. It takes strong sadhana. Show it up every day, doing your rounds every day, following the instructions of your spiritual master. They say sometimes, a pure devotee, takes, hundreds of lifetimes sometimes to get to that pure devotional stage, So that's where we're trying to get to. But, Prabhupada said, if you chant your 16 rounds every day, I'll take you back myself. So, we got a little escape route for us. That's his promise to, to his devotees. Is there any questions on that? Okay. Text 16. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Purport. All kinds of yogis, karma, jnana, hatha, etc., eventually have to attain devotional perfection in bhakti yoga, or Krishna consciousness, before they can go to Krishna transcendental abode and never return. Those who attain the highest material planets or the planets of the demigods are again subjected to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people in higher planets such as Ramaloka and Chandraloka and Indraloka fall down to earth. The practice of sacrifice called Pancha Yanaveda, recommended in the Katha Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. But if in Brahmaloka one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness in the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at that time of universal devastation, are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. When there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. Yeah, you hear in Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vedas, and a lot of our literature, how certain yogis, attain Brahmaloka, go to a planet where Indra resides, these higher planets the demigods, reside in, they're full of opulence, tremendous lifespans, but, eventually you got to die there too. Eventually you got to fall back down. That's where I don't know how it must be, to have, living like 50,000 years in opulence and realize, oh, in a few days I gotta go back down to earth. How devastating that must be. I mean, think about that. Like living in opulence for so long. It's much different on a spiritual planet than here on earth. I mean, here on earth, it's you find that even people who have name, fame, wealth, prestige are turning to other things for happiness. Look at how many musicians, great musicians out there, turned to drugs and alcohol just to stay happy while they were in their opulence. Look how many actors turn to drugs and alcohol, when they have name, fame, wealth, and prestige. They weren't happy in all of that. They needed something else. This is how the material world deceives us. To think, well, if I was rich, I'd be happy. Oh no, that's many people who have been rich can show you that they were far from happiness. It's a great personality, Robin Williams, who brought enjoyment to millions of people, with through his comedy and his humor. He is most of his life he was battling against drugs and alcohol. Most of his life he was battling against that. And towards the end, he took his own life. He had name, fame, wealth, and prestige, and family. He had everything. He was one of the most influential actors of our time. He did everything from comedy to drama to action. But he was at the top of his field and he wasn't happy. If he can excel that high in the material world and not find happiness, what's to say about us? I mean, how much do we need to be happy in this material world? This is where Krishna consciousness, this wonderful movement in ISKCON, gives us an escape route. We can stop chasing after all these silly desires that people aren't finding real happiness with. You don't have to chase after that no more. It's a wonderful process. Is there any questions before we wrap things up? No more. We do one more verse here. Let's see here. I left text 16 from the highest. Oh, okay. I think I already did that one. Text 17. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Purport. The duration of the material universe is limited, is manifested in cycles of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas or ages. Satya, Tretiya, Dvapara, and Kali. The cycle of Satya is characterized by virtue, wisdom, and religion. There being practically no ignorance and vice, and the yuga lasts 1,728,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, vice is introduced, and thus yuga lasts 1,296,000 years. In the Dvapara Yuga, there is an even greater decline in virtue and religion. Vice increasing, and this yuga lasts 864,000 years. And finally, in Kali Yuga, the Yuga we have now been experiencing over the past 5,000 years, there is abundance of strife, ignorance, irreligion, and vice. True virtue being practically non-existent, and this Yuga lasts 432,000 years. In Kali Yuga, vice increases it to such a point that at the termination of the Yuga, the Supreme Lord himself appears as Kalki avatar, vanquishes the demons, saves his devotees, and commences another Satya Yuga. Then the process is set rolling again. These four yugas rotating 1,000 times comprise one day of Brahma. The creator, God, and the same number comprise one night. Brahma lives 100 of such years and then dies. These 100 years, by Earth calculations, totaled to 311 trillion and 40 million Earth years. By these calculations, the life of Brahma seems fantastic, interminable. But from the viewpoint of eternity, it is as brief as a lightning flash. In the casual ocean, there are innumerable Brahmas rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic Ocean. Brahma and his creation are all part of material universe, and therefore they are in constant flux. In the material universe, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord in the management of this universe. Therefore, he has once attained liberation. Elevated sannyasis are promoted to Brahma's particular planet, Brahmaloka, which is the highest planet in the material universe, which survives all the heavenly planets and the upper chakra of the planetary systems. But in due course, Brahma and all inhabitants of Brahmaloka are subject to death according to the law of material nature. If there are any questions at all? Okay. Baba Gita Ki Jai. Oh, my foot fell asleep again.